Are you ready?
A Shot of Wrestling, episode 312. And away we go.
Get a shot, boy. Is that the best that you got? We about to go live. Are you ready to rock? So take a shot. Oh, so take a shot. Oh, yeah. I'm a street breaker. I'm a heartbreaker. This is my yard. I'm Ramon Razor. Rick Flair, Nature Boy, about to seek and destroy. It's an SOW. Let me hear you make noise. Take a shot, boy. Is that the best that you got? We about to go live. Are you ready to rock? So take a shot.
What is up, everyone? It is me, your favorite actor, Mark Schwann, taking over Shot of Wrestling. Michael J. Putty can't be here 3 weeks into the new season, and Michael J. Putty felt the need to go down to Miami to check on his boy Tua. But of course, the hurricane delays are holding him up, so I don't know where he is right now. But don't worry, everyone. We got another person here. Welcome to my show. That's right. Kevin Wood. What's up, my man?
Hey, hello there. How are you doing, Shot Universe? The universe of shots. Do we have a name for the name for the fan base yet? The Shotters, the Shotties.
You know what? Hold on 1 second. Oh. Abel Green Man is finally joining the show here, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Green Man. You can ask Green Man right now. Green Man, welcome to the show, man. We are live.
Hey, holy cow.
Holy cow. What I mean live, we're pre-recorded. But I just gave an intro to my boy Kevin here. He asked a good question. I thought that you might know the answer to. Do we have a name for a Shot of Wrestling Faithful or Shot of Wrestling Universe? So is it Shot of Universe? What do you call them?
The Wrestleholics.
The Wrestleholics.
I like it.
Hey, how's it going, Kev?
Hello, Abel. How are you? I'm not sure if we've met in person before, but I'm sure we will at some point, especially now that we have graced this podcast together.
I saw a very handsome, rugged look of a person on my screen, and I'm like, this can't be Mark Schwann. Am I like going into someone's Zoom that I'm not allowed into, but apparently I got some access to? But it's nice to see you.
So already we're starting off hot here. Like we started off hot last week, and I see you're still not holding back punches. Let's go. Let's
freaking go.
What are you drinking here? Is that a mojito?
Could I tell you about this drink?
Tell me.
When we started a Shot of Wrestling many moons ago, we used to have a shot of the week, and then it translated into the drink of the week. I just recently discovered, not recently, like fully discovered, but I've evolved this drink that I love. It's just Kettle One with tonic water. I usually put a little splash of lime, but I just stepped it up this week, and I added some mint leaves to it.
Look at you
very refreshing.
You are a Long Island bougie bitch now. Long Island changed you.
I am. Me and MJF, we're good friends, so he's showing me the ways.
You said were, so I think that's past.
Were,
so
yeah,
what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, it pretty much. A couple indie shows here and there, and then all of a sudden he's in AEW. And the talk of the nation, I could say he's moved past me already.
I mean, I'm about to move past you too. Guys, let's get into some wrestling, shall we?
Let's do it.
It's time for In the News with Michael J. Putty and Mark Schwann.
All right. What's trending, guys? We have a few topics here to talk about. Shawn Michaels recently did an interview, which caught a lot of people's eye here. WrestlePurist at WrestlePurist quotes Shawn Michaels' interview. We are still reaching out to other people with experience that have wrestled on the independent scene or been out in Japan or in other companies. That is something NXT will continue to do in the future. Guys, what do you think here? Is this the right direction for the future of WWE, going back to the indies after they said that they were closing the door in independence?
I mean, I'm pretty excited about this news. I didn't like the fact that they took away the indies for a little bit. It was part of their model. It's something that AEW then took it and blew it up to a whole nother level. So I do respect where Vince McMahon was coming from to say like, hey, if AEW wants to do the indie thing, let them do it. And we're going to do something different. And that's where we're getting like these stars from, you know, collegiate football or, you know, world-class Olympic athletes who are now joining the WWE and they're getting trained in that same universe. I'm excited. There's a lot of great names that have come from the independent scene. It's been a kind of a way of passage. If you want to be a pro wrestler, you work the indie circuit, you get a name for yourself, you get signed into a developmental deal, and you make something even bigger of yourself. So I'm excited for it.
I'm also excited about it in the sense that, like, I don't think that they should be abandoning this idea of like, we're going to like recruit D1 athletes and other people who are not necessarily from the wrestling business, because that's a model that's proven to be successful. Bianca Belair, Braun Strowman was, I think, like a bodybuilder before he joined, even going back to guys like Kurt Angle and Mark Henry and stuff. And I like the idea of bringing in indie guys because you create sort of a it's not like you're not having like a cookie cutter developmental system. When I worked for WWE in 2015, we were doing an interview with Bryan Daniel Bryan at the time, and he made a point that about how everyone learning from NXT at the time, he was kind of talking about, you know, because that's right when NXT was kind of becoming like what we knew it to be. And he was saying it's great that like you don't just have to be like the WWE cookie cutter person, but sometimes maybe it's not so good because it's gonna, WWE being the only thing there, it's gonna force everyone to kind of like learn one system, and you do not want that. And I think that having people from a variety of backgrounds, that's why I meant to say earlier, a variety of backgrounds can do nothing but help the company, in the sense that like if you're bringing people in from D1 stuff, they're going to have a certain perspective on the world and athleticism and all that, and you're meshing them with guys that are from the indies, they're going to have their own perspective. I think it can only be a good thing. And I think we've seen that borne out over the last few years, because NXT has had a lot of guys like Adam Cole and Ricochet and whatnot. But there have been like some cases of them really developing guys too.
So here's what I think. I mean, you know, I'm in the indies, so of course I have nothing but love for independents. Lots of talent over there, lots of lots of gems that have not yet been discovered. I could list some names here, but the thing is, I could list some names, right? There's a lot of indie people out there. This is not a complete knock on independence, but the thing is, like with WWE, what they need to focus. I agree with the fact that yes, they shouldn't close the door to independence, but maybe they shouldn't do like what AEW is doing, like open the door completely to all independents. You know what I mean? Like Kevin talking about what you're talking about with like with the deals they have with the college athletes and such. You know, if you think about like WWE at its best of developing talent, like they had a power plant system of their own. They didn't go to the indies. So the top stars in that business never did the indies. Like these are guys that they built on their own and became legends, became stars. And that's the thing. WWE is about world wrestling entertainment, about creating stars. There are some indie people in there that have made a name for themselves in WWE, but did they become stars? Some would say no. Even Kevin Owens, who I absolutely love, who is crushing it, is not necessarily a star. You look at the stars that WWE has had, and they didn't come from the indies. So that's why I think, like, let the other promotions, let them get, have their pick in the independents, and let WWE just get the creme de la crop. Just let them get maybe a handful of the indie people. Don't necessarily close the door completely, but they should focus on what they're doing, their new initiative, as far as going with the college athletes and such.
I hear that, but then so you're specifically referring to the period in 2002. OVW, Cena, Brock, Batista, Orton, and some other guys like Shelton Benjamin and whoever. They definitely created like a small handful of guys that really hit it, but then I think that a big problem for WWE over
Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was an indie guy.
Yeah, this is what I was saying, is it doesn't need to necessarily be like one formula, but you could go back to the late 90s. One of the things that I think helped the Attitude Era was that they had like especially in 2000, 2001, They had a strong roster of guys that came from all these different backgrounds. Some guys came from ECW, some guys came from WCW, some guys came from New Japan.
ECW, WCW are not indies, though. They were not indies.
These
are established promotions.
That's true.
Different.
But they were different.
They're different. You're talking about, like, for example, I mean, I know AJ Styles is kind of like a hybrid. He started in indies, but for a lot of his career, he was in the Impact, or TNA, which I know, like, people like raise their eyebrow out, but hey, guess what? That's a major promotion.
Yeah.
So he's got TV experience. The problem with the indies, as we're seeing with AEW, is like they have bad habits for the most part. Jim Ross talks about it. Even the NXT at one point, it was a joke that, like, no more thigh slapping. That's the thing. Like, they look, at least with like these newer talents, they're athletic. WWE can mold them into their own, or what they want them to be, what a superstar should and would look like in their roster. The thing is, if you're in the independence for, like, 5-10 years plus, you develop these bad habits. It's really hard to get rid of.
Gentlemen, just like my drink, just like when you're cooking or you're making anything or you're stewing things in a pot, there's different ingredients. It's silly to say that, there's one formula that the WWE will follow with Division I athletes, and then that's how they're going to find their next star. And if that's what they're doing, that's just one part of that recipe. AEW's, like you said, Mark, it's, they're focusing on that independent talent, but too much of that ingredient in each one of those pots is going to make not a really good tasting drink. You got to mix it up a little bit, baby. You got to put in that mint leaf. Who's going to be that mint leaf? Who's going to be the creme of the creme vodka out there? You got to mix it up.
No, and I agree. It has to be the right mix. That's I agree with you. What you're saying there about that. It has to be the right mix.
Stop doing that. It makes me feel weird. Don't agree with me, God damn it.
All right, guys. Well, moving on to the next topic here. Sasha Banks trending once again. Always trending, this girl. She is setting the world on fire ever since she left WWE, walked out, depending on how you want to phrase it. So Macho Beard, at Macho Beard for life. Mercedes Varnado, no longer Sasha Banks on Twitter and following NJPW on Insta. Interesting. People took note about Sasha Banks changing her name on Twitter and the socials. She's everywhere, guys. Looks like she's heading Hollywood bound. So what do you guys think? Is Sasha Banks the next Rock?
Hey, well, you go first.
I mean, for a woman to have already the young career with the Mandalorian and putting herself out there to be, I wouldn't even say the next Rock, but she could definitely be the first Sasha Banks out there when it comes to...
Or the first Mercedes.
The first Mercedes, but being in the WWE and really making a name for herself in the big screen. I'm excited about it. It doesn't mean that she's completely turned her back on like wrestling. I think through her documentaries, you've seen that that's something that she's always been around, that she's grown up with, that she has a passion for. With New Japan Pro Wrestling, she mentioned in one of her documentaries, she went to Japan to find herself, that she needed to connect to some of the things that she really loved about professional wrestling. And that's where she found her piece. So I'm all for it. I'll support her. I would be interested to see what other projects she's going to be working on outside of the ring.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like rooting for her. She's definitely one of like a handful of personalities that my friends who are non-wrestling fans know of. A lot of them, frankly, are guys that are just like, oh my God, she's like so hot. But there are
Damn
friends
right.
of mine who are girls who also know her, and they're just like, oh my God, she's like so fit. Obviously, she was on Star Wars. She has had quite like the entry level sort of thing into Hollywood so far. Also, she's related to Snoop Dogg, so she's going to have Hollywood connections because of that. But let's just like hold off before we start. Like, The Rock was literally dragged into Hollywood. They were begging, they were knocking down his door. He hosted Saturday Night Live while he was still like on the main roster and stuff like that, which is a huge thing. It doesn't just happen to anyone. I think it's, and I hate to say it, and not that she'll go down the same trajectory, but where she's at right now could maybe lead to being The Rock, but it could also be just once upon a time we would have said the same thing about China, and it's unfortunate that it didn't work out as well for her. And obviously I hope that it works out well for Mercedes, which That's another thing. Someday we need to have an episode about all of the wrestlers who have cooler non-wrestling names than their wrestling names. Mercedes Varnado, also Richard Blood, and yada yada yada. But yeah, I mean, let's just. I'm rooting for her. I want to see the best from her. I remember once upon a time somebody saying when they all debuted that like she was one of the NXT girls, one of the 4 horsewomen that had like the most potential to become like a megastar, and it seems like she's doing that. But let's just wait and see.
Wait and see. Listen, I can't believe that you just compared Sasha Banks to China as far as that goes, as far as a trajectory for a career. Very different trajectory. I love China as a wrestler, but what she did outside of wrestling, I don't see Sasha Banks doing at all in this lifetime. I was going to say anytime soon, but I don't think at all in this lifetime. Going to Mercedes, Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her right now, same person. She is a star. She's a megastar. She's had that it factor. Yeah, she also has the connections which help Grand Time. Listen, she's been out of WWE for months now, and she's been trending every single week. She is doing something all the time, carrying Naomi with her as well. They're both an item, going out there, going to the shows, going to events, going to all these different things and getting their names out there. They are stars right now without WWE. Mercedes, I give her props. She's betting on herself, kind of like how Lamar Jackson betting on himself this year. And I think it's going to pay off. I think Mercedes, the capacity to be a star, like Abel said, not maybe the next Rock, but the first Mercedes. And I agree with that. I think she does have that trajectory where she can go on to Hollywood and do some big things because she's got the look. She can talk the talk. She's got the charisma. And hey, listen, she's not being invited to these events because they don't like her. Obviously, there's a likability factor in there as well from the Hollywood elite that they're opening their arms for her. So I'm very curious to see where this goes and able to touch on what you said that, maybe you should go back to wrestling. Hey, look, The Rock still has a lot of love for wrestling. John Cena, a lot of love for wrestling. Batista, some love for wrestling. But, the schedules in Hollywood, and listen, I'm not an A-list celebrity, but at the level where I'm at, it can still be very demanding. So with Sasha Banks, if she, because you're talking about 14, 16-hour days on set, and then you're out there promoting, find it very hard. If she does well in this new career path, I find it very hard to believe that she would go back to wrestling, actually. Maybe a one-off, maybe an appearance, but if she does well, if she does as well as I think she can, I think this is the last we hear of Sasha Banks. Hello, Mercedes.
Yeah, I can't really argue against that. I would also say that like her career trajectory is probably more similar to Batista in the sense that like you have a leg up when you're coming into Hollywood if you have exposure somewhere else, but he had to kind of make his own way, and now he's a legitimate star in Hollywood. And maybe not like a mega star, but he's a regular actor, and he's worked with big directors and stuff like that.
He's doing his thing. Respect.
I love Batista movies, by the way. Can I just say that? I have not seen a bad Batista movie.
Same. Although I never saw Stuber, so I don't know.
Oh, it's so good, bro.
I did really? See Stuber.
I like it.
It was okay. Not bad. Not horrible.
MC3, come on. It was good.
It wasn't bad. All right. Well, moving on here. We're not debating about movies. We're talking about wrestling here. So Andrade making some news. A lot of people are a little upset that he's not on the TV screen a little bit more. So is he apparently. Wrestle Tracker at Wrestle Tracker 1. Andrade El Dili. I'm the worst Spanish person ever. Someone hit me with the name.
El Idolo?
El Idolo.
El Idolo starts a hashtag free El Dilio trend on Twitter. Free Andrade. Let's just say that. I'm sorry. Yeah. I am the worst Spanish person in the world. Of all months too, right? He starts to trend.
It's the last day of Spanish Heritage Month. You're right.
No, because we started midway through the month. I think it goes into October 15th.
Oh,
anyway.
Okay.
He started to trend on Twitter amid rumors of WWE and Triple H contacting him for a return. So, all right, I have to ask, what does Andrade have to do to get some more TV time? So tonight on Rampage, Andrade issued a challenge to Dark Order's 10. So if Andrade wins, 10 has to give up his mask, given to him by Mr. Brody Lee. If 10 wins, Andrade will leave AEW forever. So that's the stipulation there for next week.
Oh.
Is this it? Is this how Andrade gets more TV time, or is this it for Andrade? Are we seeing the last from AEW?
I mean, we've seen some pretty like surprising, almost out of nowhere AEW exits recently. What's it, Malachi Black, with all the House of Black guys? Well,
yeah,
most of them. And I swear there was another one. I mean, besides like Punk and the Bucks and those guys, there was someone else. Somewhat
Bobby
recently.
Fish headed out, and he got into Impact.
There have been a lot of people that just kind of left AEW that you wouldn't have thought that they'd leave, but they have. So this could be it. This could be his way of, you know, he just asked to leave the company and they said sure, fine. I mean, it's a weird thing with him where he was in NXT, he was working there, and it seems like ever since that's like I didn't follow his career before that, but in the modern thing, like he was in WWE, they didn't really do anything with him, they let him go, he went to AEW, and it's kind of been the same thing. And I don't know if it's a language thing. I frankly don't understand why they haven't just brought in Ric Flair to be his manager.
Give him his mouthpiece. Hell yeah.
Like, I don't understand why the Ric Flair's last match wasn't just an AEW show. I mean, maybe there's liability stuff, whatever. But hey, look, like, I don't think that Flair.
I think there was heat on Flair, though. That's why. There was
maybe
heat on Flair at the time. I think there was talks of it, and then like that Dark Side of the Ring episode came on about Flair, and like they were like, all right, well,
yeah,
let's just back away from that.
I think there's been enough time now, though. Maybe, you know, obviously, I apologize to anybody who would be offended.
Maybe, but like, what would be the point right now if Andrade is 1 foot out? Listen, here's the thing about Andrade, right? Andrade is obviously talented in the ring, but listen, he wasn't doing enough to get over in WWE on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to AEW. Automatically, we all assume like he's going to be a big deal in AEW. I was one of those people, and now he's doing these hashtags on Twitter to leave AEW because he's not getting opportunities there. At one point, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? You can't point the finger at creative all the time. Like, it's their fault. They're not putting me over. What can you do to put yourself over? You know, Matt Cardona, when he was Zack Ryder in WWE, at one point was putting on YouTube shows every week and eventually got himself over to win a championship there. Like, I know, granted, he left WWE since, and he's doing bigger things now. But like, the thing is, Matt Cardona worked on himself and he worked his ass off to get to where he is. Andrade, again, I don't know what's going on backstage. I could be wrong, but just from the outside looking, what's the common denominator between him and WWE and him and AEW? It's him.
Yeah.
So at what point you have to wonder, is he the problem? And just insert name here for other people that went to AEW looking for greener pastures and they're not getting it. Maybe you're the problem.
I don't think Andrade is any problem. I think he's super talented. I think the body of work that he's created in the ring speaks volumes for who this athlete is.
Again,
however,
not denying the talent, however, but there's more to talent in that.
Yes. However, Mark, anybody who has always been a great superstar, a great wrestler that has transcended generational talent, like MJF says, has been great on the mic and great in the ring. Mm-hmm. And he has not been that great on the mic. The only thing that I find troubling is that they put him in these they give him these opportunities where they're setting him up to fail.
Yeah, totally.
He hasn't proven that he could just take a mic and captivate a crowd, but this is where like a production team, a producer would say, let's put a mouthpiece to it. Like Kev said, let's put Ric Flair to it, like one of the greatest talkers in the business, put him with Andrade, let Andrade do the in-ring work, let Ric Flair take care of all the talking outside of the ring, and that it'll be golden. Even if you do a storyline with Andrade and his beautiful wife, Charlotte,
which would never happen. Never happen. But
a storyline in the show, I would love to see something that could happen between that relationship.
Give him Vicky Guerrero. Give him someone.
Oh,
give him anyone.
But like, isn't hang on though? Isn't that sort of the problem though? Because when he came in, didn't they put like Chavo Guerrero with him, and didn't they? They had Chavo. Yeah. Am I thinking it? I'm not thinking that was someone else.
I think there was problems with Chavo though. There was some sort of problems with Chavo backstage.
Like I think that actually kind of the problem with him is that like they have been trying to just put anyone with him, and I think that he needs maybe it is Vicky, maybe it is Flair, maybe it's someone else. The guy that they did wind up putting with him, I just don't think that it really worked as well, because I don't think people necessarily, it just didn't work. And I think that that's his big problem, is that, like, you're right. Maybe he is the common denominator, but as Abel said, maybe it's like a thing where you looking at him, you need to find a way to like push out make his strengths very apparent and hide his weaknesses.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like, what made him a success in NXT with him and Zelina?
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Zelina was a big thing about that, because, like, you know, she would do all these crazy stunts outside the ring as well to put him over. That was the hot ticket right there. And on top of that, he was just so ridiculously good in the ring. And Zelina's a great talker.
So with the NXT Andrade Selena duo, in today's way that the WWE under Triple H is going, would that have been a better vehicle to go from NXT and say, because I could see Triple H saying, all right, you know, this is working great in NXT, Selena and Andrade. Let's put these two together on the main roster. Let's not break them up. Let's push them. Let's continue moving that vehicle in that
Absolutely,
direction.
because, you know, at one point, I thought they were having something going on the main roster when it was him, Zelina Vega. They were developing a little stable with him, Zelina Vega.
It was like
Umberto,
Umberto,
and
maybe.
Angel Garza.
Yeah.
I believe it was. They were closing out Raw. It seemed like they were having some sort of thing going on. I was like,
I was enjoying it. Yeah.
This could be a cool stable, especially Zelina as a mouthpiece. This could be something that could elevate Andrade to that other level. But that only lasted not even a month before they broke up. And it was just, so answering your question, I think Zelina Vega and Andrade would be the hot ticket if they brought it to Raw. I mean, look what happened with Scarlett and Karrion Kross coming back to the main roster as a team. Obviously, night and day from when Karrion Kross initially came up to the main roster solo. Don't reinvent the wheel. Do what works and then elevate from there. That's the foundation. That's the foundation you build off of.
I'm very conflicted with that statement, because I've been thinking about this recently. And, you know, one of the great things about Vince McMahon in the Vince McMahon era is that he took chances to be able to take something that's working so well in NXT, but then say, you know what? I'm going to change it up. I'm going to try something completely different. Yeah, maybe Karrion Kross did not work out, but who's willing to take that chance and say, hey, I have this brand new character, this like Spartan, let's put a helmet on him. It's going to be great. It's going to be so cool. But now in the Triple H era, I love the fact that you could see someone that's having a good, successful run in NXT, not change that character. It's a great, shiny toy. Everybody loves playing with it. Now we'll just put them in this spotlight and everybody will still love the toy. We won't change the toy and the way that it's being played. Everybody's enjoying it. So I'm very conflicted, because it's like, I kind of like the Triple H aspect of it, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, like you said. But I also can knock Vince McMahon taking those chances, because there are some great things that came from those chances.
How many chances can you really take, though, without it? Like, I equate it to in baseball, right? If you're trying to hit a home run every single time, you're going to have a very low batting average. And that, I feel like at one point towards the end of Vince McMahon's era, I feel like he had a very low batting average, because it felt like he was trying to hit a home run every time with all these changes they had to do. At some point, you just have to focus getting on base. And I think Triple H right now is doing a good job getting on base with like these characters and, like, you know, doing what works. And then from there, you can start integrating some changes. You have to set a foundation before you change it up, or before you evolve, if you will.
Yeah, I would say that Vince McMahon was only concerned with hitting a home run. And if he didn't think that he could hit a home run, he was not interested in it. And I would say that like the Andrade situation that we talked about is the perfect example of that. Because I don't think he was ever necessarily into stables. I don't think he was into stables unless it was to sort of feed whatever would be sort of like his top storyline or whatever, or if there was like a talent that was advocating for it, you know. And I think that, hey, if I'm Andrade, maybe I'm looking at what's happening in WWE now, and I'm like, you know, I can make it work there. It's not really hitting for me here in AEW, but to go back to Mark's point, there is a certain point that's like, well, also, what does that say about you, that you just want to keep flip-flopping every time like the winds blow?
That's true.
Didn't he ask for his release? Am I remembering this correctly, or was he just released? I know he wasn't.
I think he was asking for his release. I that is ringing the bell.
Yeah, well then there you go.
So we shall see what happens with that. We'll see next week if he wins the match against 10. But with that being said, guys, It's time for some TV takedown. Let's get into it.
It's time for this week's TV Takedown.
All right, guys. So TV been on fire this week. We're going to start off with Monday Night Raw. So who was trending all throughout Raw, all afterwards until the next day? Candice LeRae is back. That's according to Denise Hollywood superstar Salcedo at hashtag Denise Salcedo. People were all talking about Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae is back. But no one saw that coming, man. It was pretty cool to see. So I have to ask this, man. It kind of had a similar feeling was Johnny Gargano coming back just a month ago now. The obvious question I had to ask here for you guys: who wins a championship on the main roster first, Johnny Gargano or Candice LeRae?
Ooh.
Didn't expect you to go there,
Mark.
That's a very good question. That
is a really good question. I'm gonna say Johnny, just because I feel like there's like with the women's
there's
title,
a path.
There's almost like a line of succession, and it feels like she's like Candice is a little at the back of that line. I don't mean for that to sound as shitty as it does, but like it just feels like I could see Johnny picking up the US title or the Intercontinental title or something like that first. If we're talking like world titles, then probably like Candice, but I just feel like Johnny seems like he's kind of like right there where Candice, is she going to be the one to if Bayley beats Bianca, is she going to be the one to beat Bayley? I don't know.
Abel, your thoughts?
I completely agree. I think the storyline that Gargano already has with Theory, it's just the right path that's going to get Gargano to that US title. I don't know about you guys, but maybe my TV is not adjusted the right way. I didn't hear a big pop when Candice came out.
Yeah.
Was it a big pop?
No, it doesn't. It was lacking the big pop like Gargano had. It seemed like there was more reactions online to Candice LeRae than in person. It could have been the venue. It could have been something else. Who knows? You can't really place all your eggs in one basket for one place to have a big pop. I don't know. I guess we'll have to. I guess we'll have to see next week.
I mean, based on that, I would still say Candice LeRae on the main roster may be something I want to try out in some different states, some different venues, because maybe they're just doing too many comebacks. Because that's what the one thing with AEW, like every week, like just because it worked once doesn't mean it's going to work again. Insert WWE former employee, and then you get a pop and everybody's excited. AEW is the best thing ever,
I think the thing is with that, though, I think Johnny Gargano has a bigger name than Candice LeRae. I don't necessarily know how world renowned Candice LeRae is because that was in Canada, right? That Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily know how well Canada knows her work or how well they know NXT even. I mean, NXT only gets so many views. Johnny Gargano, I mean, I feel like the dude's been making headlines for quite a bit. So I think he's a little bit more well-known than Candice LeRae. I think that could have been the issue there.
Well, then they didn't set her up for success.
Maybe not. Maybe
they
not.
had that information knowing that, hey, maybe like, let's do it maybe when we're back in the States or let's do it at her hometown.
But online, it was a buzz. I will say this. So that's a good thing for Candice. So here's my thing, though. Going back to what you guys are saying, I actually disagree with both of you guys. I think Candice LeRae, if you look who her opponent is going to be next week, who she stepped up to, Damage Control, she's going to be facing Dakota Kai next week, right? Mm-hmm. On Monday Night Raw.
All right.
We're talking about champion. Who's going to win championship first? I think it's going to be her. And I think Indy Hartwell might get called up next. I think we could see Candice and Indy team back up and win some tag team gold there, guys. I think that's fire.
Totally forgot about the women's tag team championship, just like the company has at times.
I think that makes the most sense. That would be an intriguing storyline to see right there. They obviously have the chemistry with both NXT women, former NXT women, Dakota Kai and Io Sky. I think Johnny Gargano. I disagree with what you're saying, Kevin. I feel like Johnny Gargano's path is not as easy for him to win a championship because you look who the champions are right now. Roman Reigns. Is he going to beat Roman Reigns right now? No. Is he going to beat who's the Intercontinental champion? Gunther? I don't see that happening. I think Gunther's keeping that IC title for quite a bit. Is he going to beat Bobby Lashley for United States Championship? I don't see that right now. Bobby Lashley's pretty hot. So like I think honestly Gargano's quest to become a champion is very hard for him right now. A tag team championship against the Usos, who's he teaming with right now? Unless like maybe he reteams up with Ciampa, but it seems like they're very far apart from ever teaming back up again. I think the most obvious one for me would be Candice winning the tag team championship from Damage Control with Indy.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pick. Again, like I said, totally forgot about those women's championships.
You're so creative, Mark.
Oh,
You're
thank
so
you.
creative.
God
that's like the best compliment you gave me, man.
Don't get used to it.
Abel, what do you think?
You sold it to me pretty well. I still think Gargano is the bigger star. I think it's someone that they're more invested in. Just in the conversation that we're having, the company doesn't invest a lot in the tag team division. The company has not been investing as much more in the women's division as the men's division. Gargano has a lot more stock. Gargano has been a lot more popular. I still see Gargano.
I would agree with you before if Vince McMahon was still in charge. I'm starting to see a shift now that Triple H is in charge. There's more of a shift towards tag team, giving them some relevancy actually on all fronts for the tag teams. So like, this is the most that we're seeing the women's tag team championship being on TV. So it's not necessarily dead yet. And I'm actually excited to see what they do with it, because this could be a very good storyline here going forward. Moving on, though, to NXT. So Mandy Rose, I feel like, is always trending, by the way, for the record, for various reasons. A lot of it has to do with her looks. There's a lot of thirsty men out there that are very much into Mandy Rose.
She's really great with those thirst traps, though. I mean,
but Mandy Rose is also trending because they were talking about her running knee. They were comparing to Kenny Omega, but this caught my eye here. But Alba Fyre, Alba Fyre's promo, what she did. Roman Reigns SZN at Reigns_era. Alba Fyre got to win that title. Hashtag at WWE NXT. I don't know if you guys watch it. It was well done. It makes me think that maybe she could be the one to defeat Mandy Rose. Guys, what do you guys think? Will Alba Fyre be the one to beat Mandy Rose?
I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't been the biggest NXT watcher ever, but especially in this 2.0 era. I guess the question I would have is, are they about to bring Mandy and the rest of her stable to the main roster? Because if that's the case, then absolutely. We are kind of heading into this. They haven't announced any sort of draft or anything, but we are heading into this time period where the draft usually would be. I could see Triple H and them kind of saying, like, this act works. We need them on Mondays or Fridays instead of Tuesdays, and I mean, yeah, I could see it. NXT is meant to be a place for people to sort of find themselves as a character, and I think that it's pretty safe to say that Mandy Rose has found herself and found what works. So I could totally see her dropping the title and showing up on Raw or SmackDown here in the next few weeks. I think they need to be careful because her group is not too different from Bayley's group, but yeah, I could see them. It's not
They're pretty different. They're pretty different. They're pretty different.
They're very similar. I see the similarities.
It's three. They're three women. What? That's why I see the similarities right there. That's it. Very different characters. Very different characters. But Abel, what do you think?
I think the women's division in NXT still needs Mandy Rose. I think they need to build a lot more into it, into maybe introducing a couple more names, a couple more threats to her championship would be nice, because if they leave as a stable to the main roster, what is NXT left with?
So you think Alba wins, Mandy's gone? There's no other way to it. Like, is
I would say.
I mean, that's been the strategy that they always play with. So why not?
So there's no there's no way in hell if Mandy Rose loses that she's going to stay in NXT.
That she stays
she's gone.
I think she would be gone.
I would have to actually agree with that.
So gross.
I'm trying to find a way. But here's the thing, though. I mean, Mandy Rose.
It'd be smart if she stayed.
The reason why I think she would stay, honestly, I don't. Yes. Does NXT need Mandy Rose? Do they need the star power? Yeah, because honestly, like I said, Mandy Rose trends all the time. She's the biggest name that NXT has, and that's including Braun Breaker, who they're trying to make a star. And that's kind of a problem. If Mandy Rose keeps on beating him out all the time. And Mandy Rose has gotten a lot better. But here's the thing, what I'm really focusing on. They keep on hyping Mandy Rose, her title reign, right? She's not quite at a year yet. She's heading close to a year. I think they want her to get to that year mark at the very least. And maybe we don't see a fair match here. Maybe Mandy Rose squeaks out with a win in an unfair way because, you have toxic attractions here. So why not? That helps her title reign. It gets extended to past the year. I think Alba Fyre is built to be the one to beat Mandy Rose. I think out of anyone on that roster right now, like she's the most equipped to do it at this point. At this point right now, other than that, I mean, Cora Jade, I think she's a contender, but like not quite there yet. Maybe a couple months away. Roxanne, I think is almost there, but not quite yet. Those are names stick out to me. Nikita Lyons, not quite yet.
That's what I would think.
Not quite yet, though. But the one that makes the most sense to carry that division going forward will be Alba Fyre. She's the most ready to be the champion right now. So I think, honestly, what happens at Halloween Havoc, I think Mandy does come out still being the champion, not necessarily winning, but still coming out as champion. And they get a rematch at some point. Mandy Rose hits the year mark, and then she drops the belt. And then, boom, she goes on to the main roster. That's what I think happens, personally.
That's possible. I could also see how WWE loves to do this, where they extend these title reigns to break the records of previous title holders. And I think Asuka's was like a year plus. Like, I don't think she's too far away from that. So I could also see her holding on to that too. Because also, like, while I was saying earlier that I think that they probably might be looking at that and say that's ready for Mondays or Fridays. I also don't know if the women's division on Raw or SmackDown necessarily needs them quite yet. I don't see like a gaping hole anywhere. It feels like they got a lot of depth going on the main roster. So yeah, I guess maybe she holds on to it for now.
All right, guys. So moving on here, we're going to AEW. Here we go, guys. So I mean, the biggest thing what people wanted to see was, Saraya was having a big promo. Saraya, what does she have to say? How is it going to go down? Is she going to be wrestling? How's it going to go down between her and Britt Baker? Well, none of them were trending. You know who was trending? Jamie Hayter was trending. One of the tweets here from Anna at Anna C. DeMarco. Jamie Hayter chants getting louder every week. Tony Khan, you know what to do. And even tonight on AEW Rampage, when she faced Willow Nightingale, big pop for her. She's obviously showing her stock is on the rise. Guys, is it time for Jamie Hayter to break out? Because she completely overshadowed Saraya and Britt Baker here. So your thoughts on that?
I think AEW has something really special right here. If they just sit on it a little bit longer and make us want it even more. The fact that the chants are getting louder, the fact that she is the one trending in what was going to be a big segment for Saraya. And I mean, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, she hits it out of the park all the time. All the time. Again, the fact that she was coming into that situation with such big stars, and she's the one.
And Jamie Hayter didn't say a word.
Didn't
say a word.
Let us simmer in it. Let us want it more. I think wrestling fans really feel like, the more we want it and the louder we get, the more that we want the company to give it to us. But we need a little bit more time to simmer in that feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I think
you're saying give her the Kofi treatment, give her the Daniel Bryan treatment, if you will.
Yes.
You're talking about slow playing to build her to be star. Like, let the fans just get a little taste. Like, I want more, Dad. More Tony.
Yes.
Give me more, Tony. Give me more of that.
But the art of wrestling booking really comes down to like you're getting what the people want, but you're making them wait just long enough, not too long. You're not giving it to them too fast that they're just like, oh well, we have it. You don't wait too long so that they're just like, well, we don't care about this. It's finding that right time. And I don't know for AEW if that's when the next pay-per-view is. I don't know if that's when if that's like 6 months down the road. Probably not. That seems a little
that's
too
way
far.
too long. Way too long.
By the end of the year, maybe, but like no, Mark, go ahead.
One thing I would say, the common denominator, what you guys are talking about is timing. And I think timing is key for everything. And that's one thing I feel like WWE has had the advantage over AEW with, other than production value, is timing. They know when to pull the plug on something or when to like push something for the most part. I feel like AEW really hasn't mastered that like at all. So
I would agree with that. I would agree with that on both the long and short term side.
So then can we trust them to build Jamie Hayter the correct way? Because it seemed like they had something going on with Wardlow and he hasn't really skyrocketed to the way he should have or what he would have in WWE under the right guidance there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was about to say Wardlow. I was going to say we just had Bobby Fish left the company. I mean, some of it that's not necessarily fair because there are injuries and stuff, but they spent all this time building up feud with the Young Bucks and the Undisputed Era guys. That looks like it's never going to happen now. And then before that, they spent a bunch of time building up the Young Bucks and Gallows and Anderson, and that never happened. And so they'll do that. They'll do that where the stuff just never happens. They'll have some times where they'll pay stuff off like too quickly. I swear that they kind of did that with Scorpio.
They do that, yeah.
Once upon a time, where they were just like, "Oh, you want this? Well, here you go," and everyone's just like, "Oh, well, what do we do now?"
Oh, you actually gave it to us?
Yeah.
they do as of late. I think there are a lot of examples that you could point to that AEW their timing has been off, but they are a 3 going into 4-year company.
Yeah, they're still new.
They're still fresh. You know, WWE has had a lifetime to get that timing right. So I could totally understand why the WWE is getting it and the AEW isn't. However, I think AEW has been able to hit the timing with certain things. You know, look at the MJF Jericho storyline and the way that developed and how long that was. And, you know, it let us get invested all the way until the very end. And there's still facets to that storyline that I could see them easily picking up down the line and growing that for a long-term storytelling. Look at Luchasaurus.
It seems like it seems like they were going to go that route with MJF and CM Punk actually too.
Yeah.
Until that happened.
What happened? Was there something that happened with AEW recently? I did notice
that was trending a few weeks ago. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that happened too.
Trending is an understatement.
But I mean, yeah, right. Jamie Hayter, she obviously has something to her, and I feel like they need to do something now because of the fact that like you had this huge platform for Saraya and Britt Baker, and I know Saraya, she was a little rusty. She talks about herself. She was a little rusty. It was her first time on the mic and God knows how long without a script even. So, kind of give her a pass on that. Britt Baker obviously knocked it out of the park. But yeah, still people gravitate towards Jamie Hayter. So that obviously that speaks volumes. So I think by next week, maybe the week after, something has to happen here where she starts to break out a little bit more into her own spotlight.
Or just don't give her anything. How about that? How about if she just comes onto our television screen and does exactly what she did last week and just sits in the background and lets the crowd get really hot? Like, remember that episode when Jericho came on and he said nothing on the mic? And it was like everybody was hanging on what that first word was going to be, and he never gave it to us. I think 2 weeks is still too soon. I do think 6 months is way too long, but...
So how long would you give it?
Let's meet in the middle. 3 months.
How long would you give it?
2 3 months. 2 3 months.
2 3 months.
Yeah,
2 or 3 months.
I'd say by the end of the year.
Tops.
By the end of the year.
I think you need to see, because I think that the model for this storyline is actually, and I don't think they should go as long as they did it, but Triple H Batista 2005. It feels very similar. It's kind of like the muscle kind of behind the guy that's the star, girl in this case, starting to really break out and get over on their own. And they found a way to kind of like tease that out where they would give you just a little bit every week.
I love that. Yes. Give me a taste.
You just, I don't know if it's just like having situations where where you build up the anticipation of Jamie getting the mic every week, and then Britt just takes it away from her. And, like something like that. I think you can kind of push it like I think somewhere between a month and by the end of the year, somewhere in there is where you can really start to pay it off.
Do you know what the average attention span is for adults nowadays?
Wait, what was your question?
Well, right.
What?
Okay.
It's not even 2 minutes, guys. It's not even 2 minutes. So, you're talking about 2005. You're talking about like, we are older, so maybe our attention span is like, what it used to be a little bit. But, the camera, Kevin, you're in production, you know about this. The camera cuts so much so fast because people can't hold their attention. We're in a social media age. You don't like something, you just scroll. So I think, if you wait too long, if you wait till the end of the year, for example, I think that's where it gets too long. They just, all right, it's not going to happen, so they move on. I think they have to be aware of that, of what the attention span is nowadays in their niche audience. So I think that's why go sooner rather than later would help. Yes, I agree. You have to find that sweet spot. You don't want to go too soon. So maybe next week, no. But, in the next couple weeks, 3 weeks, maybe tops, you start doing something. You start at least putting some Easter eggs in there where like she can pop right now or any second.
I think one of the things that was really clever that you mentioned is, paying attention to their audience, and you're right. The AEW audience is slightly a little different than what the WWE or just a regular pro wrestling audience is. They are a little bit quicker in wanting that payoff. So I do understand that.
I think that the obvious answer is they have a pay-per-view that's in 5 or 6 weeks. It feels like that's what makes the most sense.
No,
they're in the pay-per-view build-up. This is kind of like a thing that they can build up. I don't know what that payoff would be, but I think that the answer, that the easy answer to this question is, well, pay it off at the next pay-per-view.
Well, what they did, the timing wise of when they turned Wardlow was great. Actually, that worked out really well. It's what they did after the fact they dropped the ball with.
Yes.
So like, if they did a similar timeline for us, like building up for Jamie Hayter.
How long was that going on for though? I mean, if you think about the relationship that he had with MJF, that was brewing for a while.
But Jamie Hayter's been with Britt Baker for a bit now already. I'm talking about as far as like the evolution of where Wardlow left, during that storyline with CM Punk. That worked out really well. It wasn't that long. It was a fair amount of time. I feel like they hit that timing just right with it. Again, though, it's what they did after the fact. It was kind of want.
Yeah.
That's again, they have to be careful with Jamie Hayter with. Moving on though, the SmackDown.
We're not going to do Impact.
I know my audience.
Michael J. Putty, I'm sorry. You see, Kevin's trying here.
I had something for Impact, but I realized who's on the show, and I scrapped it. Sorry, Impact. I love you guys, but not everyone on my show is enjoying Impact. So going on to SmackDown here. Talked about Kevin Owens earlier before. We had a nice little tease there on SmackDown. Public Enemies podcast noted this at the Enemies PE3. Kevin Owens trying to save Sami Zayn from the bloodline is some long-term booking that people need. Hashtag SmackDown. I personally agree with that. I would love to see them back together, but should they get back together? That question I leave for you guys. Should Sami Zayn reunite with Kevin Owens?
Oh man, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I guess from a storyline perspective, it does make sense, right? Like, we know their history. We've got this story with Sami Zayn, but there is a part of me that's just like, man, like, we don't necessarily always need these guys to be in a storyline together. What was it, in 2014, 2015, 2016,
very true.
2018? I think I was adding up the other day, I think like 2019 is like the only calendar year that they weren't in a match against each other, maybe in 2022. So they had like the teeniest little break. But there is a part of me that's kind of like, if it works for the storyline, fine. But there is a part of me that's kind of like, man, we're doing this again. You know, does Sami always? Do these guys always need? Whenever they get over, do they always need the other one to just show up?
Abel, what do you think?
I mean, I understand Kevin's point about like it's been done already, but this is a friendship it's a lifelong friendship. It's like D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. No matter where their careers and their own single careers took them to, you knew that they were always friends, that they had each other's back, even where they were enemies with each other's. There was still a moment where they just killed each other in a ring, but eventually they'll come back together. So, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn I feel, tied the same way, where it's like, I may not agree with him 100%, but he's still my boy. I got his back. And 10 years down the line, I'll reunite with him again. And 20 years down the line, I could still reunite with him in the end.
Oh my Lord, Abel, what are we drinking today that we're on the same page? This is
I don't know.
weird.
Maybe I should call this the MC3 drink.
Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Well,
here's Mark, go ahead.
Let me touch on this, and you can chime in, Kevin. Listen, I'm going to add on top of what Abel said here. I was actually going to reference Triple H and Shawn Michaels as well. It's no secret that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are friends. There's no secret about that. And the way they're tying us now, and Kevin, I understand your point. How many times we're going to do this year and year out, but there seems to be a more of a realistic approach to this right now than before. It's not so cartoonish, if you will. It seems that from a human element that even from Sami Zayn, when he almost hit Kevin Owens in the chair, with the Bloodline's trying to bully him to go into the chair, a couple weeks ago. And you see the conflict there in Sami Zayn. He wants to fit in with the Bloodline so much, but hey, this is my brother. I don't know if I could do. We're crossing a line here. It's these little things that we're seeing here. And this one we'll go to as well. I think we may see Kevin Owens beat Roman Reigns for one of the championships at very least.
Ooh.
And he needs some backing there for the Bloodline. What great way to put a chink in the armor by getting his best friend back. But Sami Zayn, I kept on calling the last couple weeks Sami Zayn the wild card. I know he's the honorary Uce, but at some point, sometime you're going to see them get on to Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn, I think he's going to be like, hey man, that's my brother, get off him, and they're going to come to blows. And I think eventually it's all going to be lead up to this one big thing of Kevin Owens getting his revenge against Roman Reigns. I think that's going to be the money thing. That's going to be the money match where one of those championships is going to leave around Kevin Owens' waist, thanks to Sami Zayn.
Great shirt, by the way. Love the shirt. Honoreus. Love the shirt.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think that I just have this vision of one of these times that they were feuding. I felt like that it was less that what's happening now feels very organic. There was one of these other times.
Organic is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I think it was that WrestleMania match that they had that it literally felt like they just didn't have anything for either one of them. And
I agree with that.
Fuck it. Let's just there. He's there. They're not doing come on, let's go.
I think it was WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, that's with whichever of the Paul brothers was the fucking referee for that match. Right. Who knows? Who cares? Who remembers?
Do you think the Matt versus Jeff WrestleMania match was kind of similar in that way? Where it's like, you kind of wanted to see them together and give them this great moment, and they're both there. Why not?
Wasn't that the one that it was originally going to be like Jeff and Christian, and like the internet spoiled everything? So WWE was like, well, we'll go with Matt instead. So you didn't see it coming, and they basically ran the same storyline, and they just, on the script, they just crossed out Christian and they just put Matt Hardy. I mean, but I also that tends to happen that at WrestleMania. There's probably plenty of matches that it's just like, well, this guy's not doing anything, that guy's not doing anything. This is a very different situation, and I think
there's
great.
Purpose. It seems like there's purpose to this, and it seems like it's, from what I'm seeing from my eye, and I could be wrong. There seems to be like a long-term storytelling here that they have in mind. There seems to be like a grander angle that they're heading towards.
Yeah. Also, I just feel like Sami Zayn's doing the best work of his career, which is saying a lot because He's done some really good
Agreed.
shit. But I just am just seeing him carry the story week to week. That's not to say that the other guys aren't, but it's just like this wouldn't work with anyone else. And I feel like WWE has tried this type of storyline many times before, and it just didn't work. Just life.
You know what I find that is working so well, because everybody's talking about how great this whole storyline is, and it's really carrying the professional wrestling business. Like that's the main storyline that everybody's invested in. But one of the things that I noticed this past week was that everybody in that ring, when they gave Sami that honorary Ush shirt, everybody was invested in what that story was. So their emotions, even though they weren't the one on the mic, even though they weren't the main person who was telling the story, they each needed an award for supporting actor.
Yeah.
Because everybody had their own emotions in their face. Everybody took their beats. Everybody was listening to each other, reacting to everybody's words. It wasn't like, hey, Roman Reigns speaking and I don't have the mic, so I'm just going to look at the crowd for a little bit. You know, everybody was so just invested in it. And that's what's making that story so great. And that anybody could take from that example to their own story and kind of, you know, make it to be that great. You know, even though you're a supporting actor to a story, invest yourself in it. Put those facial features in it. You know, like all those little things count.
It does. And Sami Zayn, I feel like he's one of those guys that whatever role that they give him, he knocks it out of the park. He just goes with it.
It's like a chameleon. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. You know, even when he first turned heel, people were like, dude, he's never been a heel before. How's this going to work? And he was a great heel. You know, he still is. And right now, man, he's at a very interesting spot. He's helping, you know, move along the storyline. And again, like I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I think there's something bigger here with Kevin Owens involved. I think we're going to see something down the road here with this. They are very much slow playing this, but they're doing it right.
MC3, you might enjoy this. One of the things, because we were talking about just a moment ago on how we may not, us as wrestling fans who've seen this already, we may not want Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to go down that road again. But I'm thinking about it like I have a 5-year-old kid. Your daughter one day, you know, is going to become a wrestling fan. And she doesn't know this backstory that's been going on. But eventually she'll come around and be like, hey, Daddy, why is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn friends? And then they're fighting now, you know, but it reintroduces, because there is so much backstory in it, it reintroduces that to a new audience. Like my son,
yeah, that's what I would say, brothers.
Exactly.
Fight.
So it's just a good story, and you shouldn't shy away from doing something over again if it just fits. And that's pretty much the point. If it happens organically and it's fitting in the story, then just let it happen.
I think that's the key word, and Kevin hit it right in the head before, better than I did. I said realistic. I think I meant to say organic, and I think that's the best way you could talk about this right now. This just feels more organic than it ever has before, which is awesome. But guys, that is it for what I have for our TV takedown over what's trending. Time for some go home thoughts.
Wow, we're not going to talk about NWA or what are the other companies? WOW. Didn't that start?
GCW.
Kevin, I have, it's past midnight. I have a daughter I have to get to right now. You know, like I know the timing. She's probably gonna be crying any minute, and I'm on daddy duty in the middle of the night. So
yes.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Been there, done that.
yeah, I know you have, man. She's teething too, so that's fun.
Oh,
yeah. But Kevin, thank you for joining the show, man, especially last minute. Do you have any go home thoughts?
I don't. Just thank you again, as always. This was fun, and I'm enjoying just, even though I don't get to watch the weekly product as much as I'd like, I'm enjoying being able to enjoy like all these different shows and follow all these different storylines. I've had many like ups and downs as a fan over the years, but lately this feels like a time that I don't think us as wrestling fans are appreciating enough. It kind of feels like the thing that a lot of wrestling fans have wanted for years. Is in a lot of ways it's kind of happening now, and I don't think that we're truly appreciating it.
No, I think you're right. I think a lot of people just want to be trending and whatnot, and like, put the commentary on top of it. But like, there's a lot of good things happening in wrestling for us. Many bad things people wanted to focus on, but there's so much good to focus on too, especially in the independent scene. I have to throw a plug out here for you, Kevin. Yeah, you have to share your Instagram handle because this dude, he does a lot of video work for different indie promotions here in the Northeast, and some of the stuff is magical, man. You did some stuff for BCW for BCW Anniversary 5 that was sick on Hog. He did the same thing for. Check out his Instagram, guys, because this is some cool ass work. He makes these wrestlers pop in a way that I haven't seen before, especially on this level in the indies. What's your Instagram handle?
It is the Kevin Wood, just THE Kevin Wood. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing it. I'm actually going to Titan Championship Wrestling tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Nice.
Great promotion.
Going with my dear friend.
Say what's up to the international star over there.
Oh, which one?
Very clearly.
Oh, okay. This is my first Titan show. So I'm going with my my dear friend PJ Savage. Gonna be doing that tomorrow.
Hey, give AJ Pan the finger for me, yeah?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Just trying to get as much content out there. Lots of people like it. Some people like it so much they've done their own versions of my content. That is another thing for
That's
another
a no-no.
day.
That's a no-no. You can't do that. But no, for real,
Imitation
guys,
is the best form of flattery.
Exactly.
We're talking about WWE, AEW quality production here on the indie level. That's what Kevin is bringing here. For any promoters that are listening, hire this man because he's damn good at what he does. Abel, do you have any go home thoughts?
I've enjoyed your shows, Mark, with Kevin in the past. So hopefully y'all enjoyed my contribution. I think Kevin, you're a great mind for the business and being in the realm of WWE and knowing a little bit more than a lot of us fans know. It's very interesting to get your perspective on a lot of these thoughts. So it's always a pleasure to listen to you when you come on Shadow Wrestling. So thank you for joining us again.
Well, thank you.
And you definitely make a better show because Mark can't do this alone. That's why Michael J. Putty's here. He rises him to the top. He needs a night off and he deserves it because it's been really hard carrying MC3 all these years, so finally we could do that for Michael J. Putty.
I just wonder, you stroke everyone's ego so much except for me. I just wonder when you're going to pay me the favor of doing that. I'm dying for that day.
Come on, you're a great supporting actor, Mark.
Oh, you're a dick.
Wow.
Can I mute him? He's muted now.
He did. Oh, geez.
Hold on, I'm going to unmute him. There we go. That's what you get. I'm in control here.
You are in control.
This is my show now.
But thanks for having me. One of the things I do want to share is I do have a 5-year-old son, and one of the greatest things that he told me this past week is like, Daddy, the next time you go to a wrestling show, I want to go. I said, okay, let's fucking go. So now I'm looking to see which is this first show that I'm going to take my 5-year-old son to. But the fact that he's so interested in the product, we watch it every Monday. It's like wrestling. It's Monday and Wednesdays for us. Fridays I'm usually working, but Mondays and Wednesdays are usually wrestling days for us in our household. And it's a great feeling to one day take my little boy to a live event.
Yeah,
so I'm excited about that.
That is really cool. I hope to have that moment with my daughter. She's 5 months old today, but so I understand she does not fully understand what she's looking at when she sees a screen. But when professional wrestling's on, she tends to watch. She tends to look over. Even though I try not to really have her have any screen time at all, can't help it. She gravitates to the screen when professional wrestling's on. So maybe there's something there. Maybe there is. So just saying. My wife will probably be very upset about that. But hey, at least she'll be an athlete.
Yeah.
But guys, that is it for us for Shot of Wrestling. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe to our page. You can follow us at Shot of Wrestling on all forms of social media. Give us a review. We want to know how we're doing. We want to know how we can improve. We want to know what you guys think, who we should interview next. Keep on a lookout for that as well, because we will be continuing an interview game, I think, hopefully starting next week, actually. So be on the lookout for that. As for me, you can follow me. You go to my website, yourfavoriteactor.com. Shot of Wrestling is on there as well, along with our interviews. So in the meantime, guys, for Kevin, for Green Man, for Michael J. Putty, who is still crying about Tua, can't blame him. Hopefully Tua gets better. And guys, thoughts and prayers for those in Florida that are suffering from this horrible hurricane that happened. Crazy enough, at one point I thought it was a category 2. Next thing you know, it's almost a category 5. I can't even imagine what devastation those people in Florida are going through right now. So my thoughts and prayers to go out to all of them and those affected. But for all of us here, Shot of Wrestling, your favorite actor, Mark Schwann, Hollywood is out.